Welcome to the 365 Daily Messages for You podcast. We're diving into something today that's pretty wild, I think. A spiritual sense of smell. Yeah, no, we're not going to be sniffing out like people's auras or anything like that.
Right.
It's more about a deeper way to experience the world.
Yeah.
We've got some excerpts from some really interesting writing on this. And honestly, I'm as curious as anyone to unpack this and see what it's all about.
Well, what's really fascinating about it is this idea that this sense, the spiritual sense of smell,
Yes.
might be the most refined, of all our perceptive abilities.
Oh, wow.
It's not about like adding a sixth sense,
Right.
but it's about like refining our perception to a whole new level.
Okay, yeah, it's like we're upgrading our perception software or something.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. So the source material suggests that our usual senses like sight, sound, touch, all that, especially when we're using them for kind of self-centered reasons, actually limits our perception. Like we're missing out on a whole dimension of experience.
It's almost as if we've become accustomed to a limited bandwidth of reality.
Okay.
Think about this. We might feel huge joy, right, at accomplishing some big goal.
Sure.
But that same like underlying energy, that life force, it's present in everything.
Really?
Even in a glass of water.
Okay, hold on. Same energy in like achieving a goal in a glass of water.
Yeah.
I'm going to need some help bridging that gap.
So achieving a goal, that gives us this rush of excitement, right?
Totally.
But that's because our perception is all like laser focused on the external event.
Okay.
But that same fundamental energy, the energy of life, of creation, of being, it's present in the quiet stillness of a glass of water too. But we often miss it.
Yeah.
Because our perception is tuned to the more obvious, outwardly stimulating stuff.
So we're missing out on experiencing that same joy, that same like life force in the everyday, the mundane things, just because we're not tuned in.
Yeah, you got it.
That's fascinating and frustrating at the same time.
Exactly. And that's where this spiritual sense of smell comes in.
Yeah.
It's not about literally smelling things, but it's about refining our perception to tap into that underlying energy,
Okay.
that interconnectedness that exists in everything.
Okay.
It's about going beyond, our limited self-centered perception to experience a richer, more vibrant reality.
So it's like we're talking about like expanding our awareness, not just adding like another sense.
Yeah.
It's about refining how we experience everything we experience.
That's it.
If you're finding this as intriguing as we are, by the way, you might want to check out the book 365 Daily Messages for You.
Oh, look.
Goes into a lot more detail about this idea, and it offers some practical guidance for how to cultivate this sense. You can find the link in the description below.
So now, how do we actually cultivate this spiritual sense of smell?
Yeah.
Is this something we're like born with, or can we actually develop it? The source material suggests that everyone has this sense.
Okay.
It's accessible to everyone, but it often gets clouded by our kind of conditioning and, our self-centered desires.
Right.
But the good news is that we can cultivate it
Okay, good.
with conscious effort.
So it's a journey, it's not a destination. I like that.
Exactly.
So where do we even begin? What are the first steps on this path to refining our perception?
One of the first steps is cultivating awareness.
Okay.
It's about paying attention to our reactions to different experiences
Okay.
and noticing where our perception is coming from. Ask yourself, am I approaching this with openness and curiosity?
Right.
Or am I letting my preconceived notions and desires just dictate my experience?
That kind of reminds me of mindfulness practices, like being present in the moment.
Sure.
But how is this spiritual sense of smell different from just being mindful?
Well, mindfulness is definitely a key ingredient here,
Okay.
but this sense goes a step further.
Okay.
It's not just about being present, but it's also about perceiving that underlying essence, the interconnectedness, the shared energy that flows through everything.
So it's like mindfulness plus like a deeper perception.
Exactly.
It's about seeing the world not just as it appears, but as it truly is, with all of its interconnectedness and energy.
Exactly. You got it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm already feeling like my curiosity piqued here.
Yeah.
What are some other ways that we can cultivate this awareness, this deeper perception?
Another key step is practicing subtle observation.
Okay.
It's about paying attention to details that we normally overlook.
Okay.
The nuances of light and shadow,
Mhm.
the subtle shifts in our emotions,
Yeah.
the way that different experiences evoke similar feelings within us.
It's like we're training our senses to become more sensitive to pick up on those subtle cues that usually go unnoticed.
Yes. It's about slowing down the frame rate of life
Okay.
and really tuning into the symphony of sensations that surrounds us.
It's making me think of those hidden object games where you have to like really focus to find the subtle differences.
Hmm.
It's like we're training ourselves to play that game, but in real life
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
with our perception.
And as we become more aware and observant, we also need to start refining our intentions.
Okay, intentions, I'm all about setting intentions. But how does that tie into developing this spiritual sense of smell?
It's about examining our motivations before we act, think, or speak.
Okay.
Are we coming from a place of self-centered desire, or is there a more expansive intention behind our actions?
So instead of like asking what's in it for me,
Right.
we're asking how can I contribute to something greater?
Exactly.
That's a pretty powerful shift in perspective.
It is, and this shift in intention directly impacts our perception.
Mm,
When we act with a genuine desire to contribute, to connect, to experience life more fully,
yeah.
we naturally become more receptive to that underlying energy that connects us all.
It's like we're clearing out the static on the radio,
Yeah.
allowing us to tune in more clearly to the frequency of that universal energy.
Exactly. And this leads to the next step, nurturing our inner longing.
Inner longing.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It's about cultivating a genuine desire to perceive beyond the surface level,
Okay.
to connect with the deeper essence of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's about embracing curiosity and seeking understanding.
Sounds like we're talking about like rekindling that sense of wonder and awe
Yeah.
that we often experience as children,
Yes.
but can lose touch with as adults.
Yeah.
Like when we were kids and everything just felt new and exciting.
You nailed it. It's about approaching life with a beginner's mind,
Okay.
a sense of open-hearted curiosity.
I love that. It's like giving ourselves permission to be fascinated by the world again.
Precisely. And as we cultivate this sense of wonder, we also begin to find more joy in the ordinary.
Okay.
This is about consciously choosing to find contentment in those simple, everyday moments. A quiet cup of coffee,
Yeah.
a walk in nature,
Sure.
a kind gesture. It's about recognizing that same life force, that same energy that thrills us in grand achievements
Yeah.
is also present in the seemingly mundane aspects of life.
Okay.
It's like shifting our focus from seeking those big dramatic events to, bring us joy,
Yeah.
to finding it in the present moment,
Okay.
in the subtle beauty that's always available to us.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I'm starting to see how all of these steps, cultivating awareness, subtle observation, refining intentions, nurturing inner longing, and finding joy in the ordinary, all kind of work together
Right.
to create this more expansive and fulfilling way of experiencing life.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, it sounds like a lot to juggle. Are there any specific practices that can help us integrate these steps into our daily lives?
Absolutely. And luckily they're not complicated rituals or anything.
Cool.
For instance, mindful breathing. It sounds so simple, but consciously focusing on our breath, that can help us become more present,
Sure.
more aware of the subtle sensations happening within us.
Right, like taking a few deep breaths when things get overwhelming.
Yeah.
But how does that connect to this spiritual sense of smell?
Well, when we focus on our breath,
Yeah.
we're not just calming our minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're also tuning in to the very life force that flows through us.
Okay.
It's a tangible way to connect with that same energy
Right.
that we're trying to perceive in everything else.
So it's like a mini practice
Yeah.
for tuning into that deeper level of awareness. It's
Right.
about noticing the subtle sensations associated with breathing,
Exactly.
the rise and fall of our chest,
Yes.
the feeling of air entering and leaving our body.
Exactly. And once we've tuned in through the breath,
Yeah.
that awareness can extend outward to our other senses, like conscious eating,
Okay.
instead of, just mindlessly gobbling down our food. What if we slowed down,
Yeah.
savoring each bite, paying attention to the flavors, the textures, the aromas?
That's a great point. I know I'm guilty of inhaling my food sometimes, especially when I'm stressed.
Right.
But when I do take the time to really savor each bite,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a totally different experience.
It does. And it's not just about pleasure. It's
Right.
about recognizing that same life force,
Okay.
that same energy
Yeah.
present in the food we eat.
Yeah.
We're literally taking in the energy of the earth to nourish ourselves.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. It's
Yeah.
like we're participating in this incredible exchange of energy, this interconnected web of life every time we eat.
Exactly. And this practice extends to other senses too.
Okay.
Think about mindful listening.
Okay.
We're so often focused on, what we're going to say next, or
Right.
distracted by our own thoughts,
Yeah.
that we miss the opportunity to truly hear what the other person is saying.
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of that. I get so caught up in my own head sometimes.
Yeah.
But what does mindful listening have to do with developing a spiritual sense of smell?
Right.
It doesn't seem directly related to smell at all.
It's not about the physical act of smelling. It's
Okay.
about listening with all of our senses.
Okay.
It's about paying attention not just to the words,
Right.
but also to the tone of voice, the body language, the energy behind the words.
So it's like we're tuning into a deeper level of communication,
Yes.
one that goes like beyond the surface level of words.
Right. And that deeper level is where we start to perceive the shared humanity, the interconnectedness. It's where we move beyond judgment and separation
Okay.
and tap into that universal energy of love and compassion that connects us all.
Wow, that's profound.
Mm.
And it makes me wonder if we can listen this way to others, can we also listen to ourselves in this deeper way?
Absolutely.
Can we tune into our own intuition,
Yeah.
our inner wisdom?
In fact, developing this spiritual sense of smell is inherently about strengthening that connection
Uh-huh.
to your inner guidance system.
Right.
It's about learning to trust those subtle whispers within.
It's like we're developing a deeper level of self-awareness,
Right.
a more intuitive understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
Exactly. And as we develop this interconnection,
Yeah.
we also become more aware of our interconnectedness with everything around us.
Okay.
This naturally leads us to acts of kindness.
Okay, kindness.
Uh-huh.
The world can always use more of that.
Mm.
But how does this tie into our spiritual sense of smell?
When we act with kindness,
Yeah.
we're not just being nice.
Okay.
We're tapping into that universal energy of love and compassion that connects us all.
So it's like we're aligning ourselves with that higher frequency,
Yeah.
that energy of interconnectedness. Every time we choose kindness,
Right.
it becomes a way to express that sense.
Yeah.
To put it into action in the real world.
You got it. And it doesn't have to be these grand gestures,
Right.
holding a door, offering a genuine compliment,
Sure.
truly listening to someone in need. These are all ways to practice kindness.
And each act, no matter how small, it reinforces that connection to the bigger picture.
Yes.
It's like we're weaving ourselves into the tapestry of interconnectedness with each kind act.
Exactly. And this is a great place to remind our listeners
Okay.
about a resource that can be incredibly helpful
Yeah.
on this journey of, cultivating a more spiritual sense of perception.
Okay.
The book 365 Daily Messages for You, which you can find the link to in the description below.
Yes. A great reminder.
It offers daily prompts and reflections that
Mhm.
can help you practice these very things we're talking about.
Yes. It's packed with practical insights and exercises
Mm.
that can support you in developing this sense in your everyday life.
And speaking of everyday life, yeah.
Let's be realistic.
Right.
As much as we, love to float around in this blissful state of heightened awareness 24/7,
Right.
there are going to be challenges on this path.
You're right. What are some of the obstacles that we might encounter as we try to develop this spiritual sense of smell?
Well, for starters, our conditioning.
Okay.
We live in a world that just bombards us
Right.
with stimuli pulling our attention in a million directions.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes conscious effort to
Yeah.
quiet the noise
Mm.
and tune into those subtle frequencies we're talking about.
It's like we're constantly being bombarded by a sensory fire hose.
Yes, exactly.
It makes sense that it would be hard to slow down and pay attention to the subtle nuances.
And another challenge is our own ego.
Okay.
The ego wants to stay in control.
Right.
To cling to those familiar patterns and beliefs.
Yeah.
But developing this spiritual sense of smell
Mm.
requires us to let go of those attachments.
And open ourselves to new possibilities.
It's about surrendering to something bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
Trusting that there's more to life than what we can just see and touch,
Right.
which could be scary.
It can be. It requires a leap of faith,
Right.
a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones.
But on the other side of that fear
Yeah,
is a whole world of wonder and possibility, right?
absolutely. It's about expanding our perception, embracing the unknown,
Yeah.
and trusting the process.
Okay.
But but even with all of that in mind, another common obstacle is simply forgetting to practice.
Oh, yeah.
Life gets busy, distractions arise,
Yeah.
and it's easy to fall back into those old habits.
So it's about making a conscious effort to integrate these practices.
Yes.
Mindful breathing, conscious eating, mindful listening, acts of kindness
Hmm.
into our daily routines,
Right.
even if it's just for, a few minutes at a time.
Right. Consistency is key. And it's also important to be patient with ourselves.
Sure.
Developing this spiritual sense of smell, this is a lifelong journey, not a quick fix.
It's about celebrating the small victories,
Yeah,
acknowledging our progress, and trusting the process.
beautifully said. And remember, we don't have to do this alone.
Right, right.
There are countless resources available to support us on this journey.
Yeah.
Books, podcasts, workshops, communities.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
That's so reassuring. It's like we're part of a collective awakening,
Mm-hmm.
a growing movement of people who are seeking a deeper and more meaningful way of experiencing life.
Exactly.
But with that said, I think we've covered a lot of ground here in part two.
Yeah.
Are there any key takeaways you'd like our listeners to reflect on before we move on to the final part of our deep dive?
Absolutely. Remember, we've been exploring this spiritual sense of smell,
Yeah.
not as like a literal sixth sense,
Right.
but as a way of perceiving the world in a more refined way.
Connecting with a deeper, more subtle energy present in everything.
And we've discussed like several practical practices that can help us cultivate this sense.
Yes.
Mindful breathing, conscious eating, mindful listening, acts of kindness,
Spending time in nature.
spending time in nature.
Absolutely.
And amidst all the practicalities,
Yeah.
remember to embrace patience, consistency, and self-compassion on this journey.
Because it's a process of gradual unfolding, of
Mhm.
becoming more attuned
Mm,
to the beauty and wonder that surrounds us in every moment.
beautifully said. Now, before we move on to part three,
Yeah.
I encourage you to take a moment to reflect
Yeah.
what resonated with you most in this part of our conversation.
Yeah.
What practices or insights stood out?
Right.
What are you curious to explore further?
Yeah.
Take some time to journal, meditate, or simply sit with these questions.
We'll be back soon with part three, where we'll delve into even more fascinating aspects of this spiritual sense of smell.
Hey.
See you soon. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the spiritual sense of smell. We've explored what the sense is and some practical ways to cultivate it. Now, I'm curious about the impact. Like how can developing this spiritual sense of smell truly transform our lives?
Well, that's where things get really exciting.
Okay.
The transformative potential is really all about this shift in perception this sense brings about. It's like we're seeing the world through like a new lens, one that reveals the interconnectedness of everything.
It's like we're finally taking off those smudged glasses we didn't even know we were wearing.
Right.
What does that shift? What does that shift feel like? How is it different from just like being more mindful?
So mindfulness, that helps us be present,
Right.
but this sense allows us to perceive that underlying essence, the energy that flows through everything. Imagine sensing the life force pulsing in a tree, the same one that fuels your dreams.
Wow.
That's what starts to open up.
That's a powerful image.
And
It's not just seeing the tree. It's sensing its very life force, the energy that connects it to everything else.
Mm.
So does that change how we interact with the world?
Absolutely. As we perceive this interconnectedness,
Yeah.
we realize that we're not like separate individuals,
Hmm.
but part of a vast web of life.
Okay.
This understanding can be incredibly liberating. It,
Right.
it frees us from limitations and allows us to experience a deeper sense of peace and belonging.
It's like we're waking up to a deeper reality, one that's always been there, but we've been blind to.
Mm-hmm.
And this sense is the key that unlocks the door.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And as we cultivate the spiritual sense of smell,
Yeah.
our intuition gets stronger too. We begin to trust those inner nudges,
Hmm.
making choices that align with our truest selves.
So it's not just about seeing the world differently, but feeling it
Right,
differently,
right.
making decisions from a place of deeper knowing. Does this make us less reactive to life's like ups and downs?
Yes, we become more resilient.
Okay.
It's not about avoiding challenges,
Right.
but navigating them with more grace.
Okay.
We develop a trust in the unfolding of life, knowing that even in difficulty,
Hmm.
we're guided and supported.
That's reassuring, especially in today's world. It's not about becoming immune to hardship,
Right.
but facing it with a deeper sense of trust and knowing.
Exactly. And as we cultivate this sense, our
Yeah.
our compassion for others grows too.
Okay. Yeah.
We see beyond surface differences, recognizing that everyone is on their own unique journey, facing their own struggles.
So judgment fades and empathy takes its place. It sounds like we're not just changing how we see the world, but how we connect with the people in it.
Absolutely. We become more patient,
Yeah.
forgiving, and supportive. We start to see the inherent goodness in everyone, even those who, challenge us.
It's like we're replacing separation with connection, both
Mhm.
within ourselves and in our relationships. It sounds like a ripple effect,
Yeah.
starting with this spiritual sense of smell and expanding outward.
Beautifully put. It's a ripple effect that can transform not just our own lives, but the world around us. If you're feeling inspired to explore this further, I highly recommend the book 365 Daily Messages for You. It provides daily prompts and reflections to guide you on this journey. You can find the link in the description below.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. It feels like we've only scratched the surface of what's possible with this spiritual sense of smell. I'm
Yeah.
I'm excited to keep exploring all of this.
Me too. It's an ongoing journey of discovery.
Right.
Remember, you have the power within you to perceive the world in a more profound way, to connect with the deeper essence of all things, and to live a life overflowing with joy, peace, and purpose.
What a beautiful reminder. Thank you for sharing your insights
Mhm.
and guiding us on this deep dive. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. If you're looking for more support on your journey, don't forget to check out 365 Daily Messages for You. Link in the description below. It's full of practical tips and inspiration to help you cultivate this spiritual sense of smell and live a more fulfilling life.
Thank you for listening.
And thank you for listening to the 365 Daily Messages for You podcast. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a topic that will inspire and uplift you.